Hi, I'm Evan Trask, and this is McLaren Aerospace's most recent finished product. This is the SubSonex microjet made by Sonex out in Wisconsin. It's a 6061 aluminum airframe. It's got a PBS TJ100 engine, which outputs at about 250 pounds thrust. So the engine comes out of Czech Republic. It has a starter generator system to power the airplane, running off of a 40-gallon tank. This is interesting.
Do you know the weight of the engine?
It looks 48 pounds.
Okay, it's about 48 pounds. And this is how it stays normally?
Yep, this is all. Well, there'll be the fairing, but this is how it's mounted, these two bolts.
Okay, awesome. Was the wiring and connection, was that difficult? How complex is that?
So the wiring itself is actually pretty simple. The hardest part, I would say, is maintaining it after the fact. As you can tell, we have really just here to maintain it and a single port through the bottom. So if you have to swap the engine out for maintenance or grab an SD card out of there for data, it's a little involved, but the connections themselves are pretty simple. So with the V-tail design, we have the rudder vaders to control your elevation or assist with the rudder for left right. This up and down behavior is controlled by a push rod, and opposite direction along with rudder is controlled by cables going through the mixer. You can notice most of the fairings on the plane, such as right here, are made of ABS plastic. It offers quite an advantage over aluminum. You can get them out a lot quicker from a single mold instead of having the aluminum sent to the customer and either having them form it themselves or fold it at the factory. So the jet has removable wings. You can see here the seam between the root here at the airframe and the outboard here. The flaps themselves are also in two pairs connected by two pins in them for lining it up. They move in tandem, single electronic switch. So the airplane features a pneumatic retractable gear. There's an air tank for accumulation and two compressors on board. When the tank drops below a certain PSI, the compressors will kick in to fill it up. You can get a few cycles out of the gear before it'll need to refill completely. Additionally, we have sensors in there for gear up, gear down, and gear warning. So the airplane also has a fiberglass nose cone, which is mounted in through nut plates on the back here for easy removal. You can imagine it without a prop. This allows us to have stuff like the batteries and the pitot tube. So if you need to charge them up, you can just swap out the cone, charge it up, put it back on. For the pilot's compartment here, we have heated leather seats right there. We have a Crow Enterprises 5-point harness for you. Over here, you'll see this is a stick. This controls all but the flaps for the control surfaces. You can see the throttle over here. So the throttle will move up to the warm-up point before you have to press the detent and move it past that. Okay. The aircraft features their factory standard MGL avionics. We did not swap this out for a different system. If you look here, this is the main display of this. This is hooked up to GPS transponder for ADS-B out. ANHARS. The screen is both touchscreen and has buttons here for navigating menus. Additionally, there is knobs at the right for controlling, for example, volume on the radio, squelch. You can alternate between different screens if you want to map, or if you want traditional instrumentation. Most of the wiring in the aircraft is fairly simple in terms of connections. The hardest part you would encounter in this is the tight space you work in. So if you look at this glare shield here, there's not a lot of room to mount all the devices and then have them connected. So that was probably the biggest challenge in this. This here is the main 40-gallon fuel tank for the aircraft. Over here we have fuel shutoff valve, perpendicular for closed, inline for open. Additionally, there is a return line here and a vent. This is the fuel level sensor for calibrating the amount of fuel you have in the tank. And when you come back over here, you'll notice we have provisions for oxygen coming out of an O2 tank back there, because this is an unsealed canopy, it's not pressurized. So if you're going to height, you're going to want provisional oxygen, which is just adjusted by the knob, opening the valve, there you go.
started up on it. So like,
Yeah, I would
go down there.
yeah. It's kind of parallel to the.
Yep.
Maybe black and full taxi with this difference. Good move. Feel free to block the taxi with that.
That's exactly what we're doing.
That's what I'm saying. Feel free, sir. Low stabilized, low motor. Stabilized, high motor. Stabilized, right up. hours,